Hey everyone, I'm Nick Meter, the founder of Soul Lift Cacao, and today I want to talk with you about a topic that is a little bit loaded, a little bit controversial, that touches on identity, heritage, and ancestry. Essentially, it's a belief that I see in the US these days in particular, which basically comes down to the phrase, you should stick only to your own heritage and not learn about or practice traditions from other cultures, especially when it comes to spiritual traditions. So in my work, I've heard this from time to time regarding cacao, especially when people want to learn about indigenous spiritual traditions involving cacao, or if they want to share cacao in some way, leading a circle or a ceremony. And in my work, I've always sought to find ways to be respectful and responsible with how I am working with cacao and sharing cacao. I'm also coming at this topic as somebody with mixed European heritage. My ancestors came from various European countries. In my family, there is a portion of Native American ancestry as well. So it's complicated for me to even begin to trace my ancestry, my heritage, and what spiritual traditions or ritual practices may have been involved. I was raised Catholic, and it never really resonated for me, but that's the reality that I was brought up in. I totally understand concerns or even criticisms of when people gravitate towards indigenous practices, especially in the Americas, as is common for people from the US or Canada. When people from a modern culture over glorify or romanticize indigenous cultures and practices. And it definitely is still too frequent that those people from outside cultures come in, maybe learn a little bit, and then just run wild with it and say that they're doing something from a Mayan or Aztec culture, for example, but there's really no direct link between the two. Yet the idea that we should stick to our own culture or basically not interact with and learn about other cultures, other spiritual traditions, has never really landed for me on a deep level, and it's taken me a long time to get clear about why that is. One way I've come to think of it for myself is that I was born in the Americas, so it's actually very natural and right for me to seek out the ancient wisdom of the Americas, to get to know and learn from the people who have had a relationship with the land and with the plants and with different medicines in the Americas for thousands of years. This is why in my work I've started to use the term cacao ally more frequently, because it acknowledges that I am from a modern culture. I am, as I said, of mixed European ancestry, and also it's actually very important that we meet each other, that we cross cultural boundaries in order to learn from each other and find a new, better path forward together. The idea that we should stick to our own culture is actually kind of terrifying to me. Every major advance in human civilization has resulted from the crossing of cultures, from coming together and learning from each other. But just like with ceremonial cacao, if there is some exchange of wisdom, especially indigenous wisdom, it's important to give proper credit and compensation. For example, in courses that I have co-created with indigenous teachers, 50% of the revenue goes to the teacher, and a much lower percentage, 20%, goes to Soul Lift Cacao. So obviously it's important to be cautious and mindful about how we do things. For example, if I repeat things that I heard an indigenous teacher share at a retreat, then I'm going to make sure to credit them, and also to just be careful about the words that I use and how I talk about it. Usually the most extreme voices I've heard on this kind of topic actually have not put in much work to research the thing that they are criticizing. For example, we're still collectively learning all the various historical ways that indigenous people connected with cacao and shared cacao. It wasn't just one ceremony, it's actually various, endless really, different ways that people connected with cacao as a sacred plant. So the problem isn't that cacao is going into new contexts in modern society. The world needs cacao as a plant medicine in order to move on to a next step of collective healing. One way to think about this is the difference between cultural appreciation and appropriation, but of course those terms can be kind of vague as well. The bottom line to me is that it's wonderful, even vital at this point in human history, that we come together and learn from each other, as long as we check our intention and do it in a grounded and humble way, not just doing it for clout or social media likes, but to really see what we can co-create together. Again, I know this is a complex and somewhat controversial subject, so I welcome your comments. Thanks for watching, and please like this video, share, and subscribe if you want to see future videos. Until next time, I'm Nick Meter.